Okay, so I don't know how far back, maybe a year at this point. I did a video about the HP 260 G1, and I called that the EliteDesk's Quirky Cousin. And that was for a number of reasons. One of the things is, it's got kind of this plastic case on top. It had this funky dim door on here. The layout as far as the how you put in the SATA drive, of course, even the as far as the where the CPU was, the fact that it didn't use an M.2 but a mini PCIe for the Wi-Fi. So I called it the Quirky Cousin. Well, along comes a couple generations later, Quirky Cousin's more stylish brother, the G3. And I really wanted this just because I like this front bezel. It just looks pretty cool. It reminds me of maybe some of the newer generation of EliteDesks. And, it got a good price. So I wanted to kind of go over some of the features in it, how it compares with a regular G3, and also do some, benchmarks, that sort of thing. So let's grab a Pro Desk, since the Pro Desk looks so much like the EliteDesk. So here we've got, right away we see this is a G3. This is still considered G3. No USB-C on here. It's got two different kinds of audio stuff, but that's not a big deal. And the same on here. If we look at the back, the 260's on the bottom. I guess some of these consumer ones, they, for some reason, like to give you a serial port. You've got your VGA, which is standard. With the G3, you'd have to put in a Flex IO, 4 USB on both. This is using a Realtek for its network instead of the Intel. You do get, well, that's right. Strangely enough, you do not get a display port. You get HDMI, wherein on the G3, that would be an add-on. Now, for consumers, probably having an HDMI makes a lot more sense than the DisplayPort. I like the DisplayPort just because there's a lot of stuff you could do with it. But for your average one, because this was targeted more at the consumer market and probably maybe small business, that sort of thing. So those look pretty similar. The bottoms on here, you've got the information that it's a G3DM business PC. Excuse me, it's business PC. This particular one did not come with a Windows license. You just got FreeDOS. You only get a 1-year warranty, where with the Pro and EliteDesk, you get a 3-year warranty. It uses the same power adapter as you would for the EliteDesks and Pro Desks. Let's open it up. One nice thing with the G3 versus the old G1, the G1 had a screw right here that you had to take out, and you could very easily lose. At least this, they went with the thumb screw. Pops off very similar. Inside cover looks very similar to, normal EliteDesk. You'll see inside right away, this looks very similar. Let's put the Pro Desk next to it. Kind of orient it, same idea. Memory is under here, under here. You've got your caddies. You've got the CPU. Difference with this is that it uses a U-type CPU, which means that it's basically, soldered to the board. You can't replace this and change it, where with the EliteDesk, with the T-Series, you could, I could upgrade this to an i7 if I wanted to. The G3, does allow for the Flex IO and some changes there. Um, let's see, I believe we'll take this off and I'll show you where the Wi-Fi is. But the connector is very similar for SATA. Okay, let's open this up. So this one only has two screws that you have to take out, where with the G3 normal, the other screw would be around here. Here's your Wi-Fi. I believe this looks like, it's hard to tell, but I'm thinking this may also be Realtek. It's possible that it is Intel too. The writing's kind of small there. You could, of course, change it out. Now, one thing you'll notice in trying to keep costs down, it only has, well, no, actually it does have two. I was thinking that it only had one. Looks like what may have happened is that either, no, I guess this Wi-Fi card is so cheap, it only supports a single antenna, not the dual. And so here's my other antenna that normally on the G3, I would connect both of them. So, I guess always little things to try to save money. Let me show you let's take the heat sink off. We'll move the fan out of the way. Okay. This is definitely even cheaper feeling than, definitely cheapo in terms of comparison to even the aluminum that comes on the ProDesk. Yeah, there's, okay. Here's your CPU. I did clean it up and try to put a little bit more of thermal paste. It's a little funky because you've got sort of the split on here. Not a whole lot else to it. And again, this should support at least 16 gig in here. Let's put the heatsink back on and we'll run some tests for things such as, the thermals, power usage. Oh, forgot to mention, it does have a M.2 slot. And looks like you could put in a 2230 or, of course, the normal 2280 there. It's an okay unit. The thing is that the price is not dramatically better. They're actually kind of hard to find. It took me actually a little bit to, well, I should say, get to the point where it was a price that I felt comfortable with. But all in all, it just definitely feels cheaper to work on, and I don't know, like, overall longevity. Price wise, you'd probably not gonna, I might save you a little bit of money. Maybe if you wanted to use this as a simple, maybe, as a NAS or, yeah, so you kind of think of it. So let me get a SATA drive for this. Okay, I'm going to hook up power, network, and we'll boot into Windows. Okay, I figure since we're here anyway, we might as well go and look at the BIOS setup, see what kind of options. This is the real older looking BIOS setup. This is like what you would see on a G1. Maybe G2 also on the EliteDesk. But once you get to the G3, it's much nicer. But this particular G3 is still the same. You're very limited in the kinds of things you can do. For one thing, is you can upgrade the system BIOS from here. and where you can with the other systems. Again, probably because you're dealing with consumer versus corporate or small business, etc. You can turn on virtualization, so it does support that. So you could run Proxmox, that sort of thing on it. So that's good. It does have secure boot. Let's go ahead. I wanted to. I had to tell it which to boot from the SATA drive, so that's why I'm here. So I'm going to go ahead and ignore and hit escape as it's booting up. Well, that was a little embarrassing. I guess when I was taking out the caddy and the connector and so forth, that when I put everything back together, I didn't realize that the ribbon cable had popped out of the motherboard. So that's why I wasn't able to boot. So here we are in Windows. I was just bringing up the performance just to see, what kind of stuff we've got here. So we've got an i3 7130U, and it does come with 2-core, and you get 4 logical processors because we've got the virtualization turned on. I've went ahead and put in 16 gig for the testing. Boy, it's really hitting it there. I just, that poor little CPU is really getting hit. But let's go ahead first and check some of the thermals, just kind of curiosity. So as checking to see using HW Info, just haven't done this before, but I noticed it does have where you can give it as far as the what wattage is pulling down. I'm actually, though, just to be consistent, going to use my kilowatt to get the reading. So I went ahead and I connected the kilowatt. I was just kind of curious to compare. These numbers, I guess, don't seem to be quite as accurate. I'm showing on the kilowatt that right now, without really doing much, it's pulling anywhere from probably averaging about 18 watts or so. Let's go ahead. See, we'll keep this up so we can look at the temperatures. And I'm going to go ahead and run heavy load and see what we get as far as temperatures, power draw, etc. Okay, we're going to go ahead and run heavy load. I actually put on a new version 4, because when I was testing before, it actually came up with an error, which has never happened before. Kind of strange. But temps are looking good around 40. The kilowatt is now showing only, it's averaging probably 7 to 10 watts. So let's go ahead. We'll run this for 5 minutes and see what happens. Well, I guess we'll just... I don't know. Something, it just doesn't like this environment, but it looks like it's running. So we'll let it continue. Let's see. The kilowatt is up to around 22, 23. Not bad, because other times when we've had heavy load, it shoots up, past the 30s. Thermal looks like we're in the mid to high 50s. We'll see what happens after 5 minutes. We're at the halfway mark. Temperature now is kind of mid 60s, but power really hasn't gone above 25 watts, which is nice. Okay, we're at the 5 minute. Power never got above 25 watts, and temps, the highest was 66. So this is, when it comes to power usage and, keeping itself, relatively cool, this unit ranks, pretty high compared to some of the other ones we've tested. Let's see what happens when we actually stop the heavy load. I always like to see how quickly it starts to cool down and what happens with the power. Wow, it dropped almost 20 degrees already, and that wasn't that long. I mean, what is that, maybe 30 seconds? and power is down to like 6 watts. So that's kind of nice if you have something where you really want to not have to worry about, heat, not have to worry about, power draw. It might be a unit for you. I'm actually touching the top of the unit and does not feel, warm at all. And we're down to, 44 already. Let's look at some of the Geekbench numbers so we can kind of compare, apples to apples here. Okay, so here are our Geekbench numbers. This is the unit that we tested, 880 and 1907. For comparison, this was what the G1 returned, which was obviously a little lower and quite lower when it came to the a multi-core one. Comparison to others, here you've got your EliteDesk. Now, granted, that is 4-core, but single core is very similar as far as speed. The others, let's see. So this G3 is better than some of the older Lenovo's. The EliteDesk 705, interesting enough, which is 4-core AMD. So kind of gives you a rough, again, you're not expecting a powerhouse for the kind of price and such, but sometimes you just don't need that. You want something that uses less juice and is cooler, and so that's what this is. Now, would I recommend this one? If you had a need for something that was maybe again not as powerful, you want to save a couple bucks, you might go for it. But if you're someone that's just starting out, maybe you have one unit, maybe on other, maybe you just want 2 or 3. For me, I got it because I'm a collector. I just like having it, and it was just another the 260 line, and I thought I would try something different. If someone else was asking me, hey, should I go buy this? I'd say, only if it's really cheap. You can, you're not going to have to buy a different power supply because it uses the same. You can use your SATA drives. You can use your M.2s. You can use your memory. So that's kind of nice. Nothing, real proprietary there. It's a little easier working with it if you're familiar with the G3s because the layout is very similar. It's not so different as the 260 G1 was. So I'll leave it to there. Let me know in the comments. I know that people in the past have asked about this and was I going to do a review on it, and so I'm kind of curious to get your feedback on it.